My brothers, and our beloved sisters. The Godfather here, Mike Side, we welcome you one more time to Blackmen Declare. We are committed to delivering to you research and opinion from a black male perspective, not only here in America, but in nations all over the globe. We believe what we share here is pertinent, not only here, but to every person of African descent in anywhere around this planet. We want to chat with you tonight about we believe, a very, very demanding and very insightful subject matter: law and order, a bipolar reality in America that we need to really look at to truly understand. Early on in America, in a response to slaves who may have been ambitious in attempts to leave the plantation, they developed what you may call bounty hunters. They were reported to have been created and developed to bring property back to these slaveholders, these slave owners. And tonight we want to chat about that. And in the virtual studio with me tonight is Cyber Arkey and also the Peacemaker. And we're excited about what's going to take place. And remember, we're researchers. What we share, sometimes we may have a personal opinion, but most of what we share is going to be based on the research that is readily available in the marketplace. We've taken time to do our best to bring it into a concise manner. And when you look at this reality of what we see as relates to bipolar reality in America, the statistics are alarming. When you think of the fact that Black men are 6% of the American population, yet 40% of the prison population in America. So this philosophy, or this attempt to continue to contain and entrap Black men in America, has continued on, even though we are now here in 2025. So we have a unique situation where we live in a nation where, from the very beginning, whenever we made an attempt to have freedom, it was suppressed and put down by those that were in authority. So I want to welcome my brothers again tonight. It's been a very interesting week. We know that the statistics also allege that the levels of incarceration of Black men that actually start as early as the third or fourth grade, when young boys are put into that prison to pipeline reality, when teachers, some maybe innocently, not taking into account the home environments may come into play, they began to a process of putting into the records in our young boys things that may have happened in school. There may have just been a child that's a brilliant child and they're bored in school, or maybe a child that's from a home that's filled with a level of abuse. And now when they get to school, they just have a need to let it go. They have a need for some form of a safety release valve. And so we look at even more recently, if just fast forward, and we're going to fill in some of the blanks as we go through the night. What we're hearing even on yesterday, when 800 generals thereabout were called in by the Secretary of War in an effort to share new processes and infer new roles of the military in these United States of America. Some believe designed to set up martial law and to put in place a process that would allow 47 to avoid having to go through another election process and continue on in his assignment. I want my brothers to come on and just share their perspective. Maybe they have a personal perspective. Someone may be in their family that is incarcerated. I know there are in my family, so I just tell it off the jump. I have situations where I have relatives and friends who are incarcerated or who have been for long periods of time. Cyber Arkey, come on, my brother. How you doing this evening?
Peace to my colleagues, my brothers in this fight for true freedom, justice, and equality. Looking forward to this show. There's been quite a bit of news happening, man. Like you said, with the president and his secretary of war um, coming and standing in front of all of these top brass in the military and making statements that just kind of like confuse me, dumbfounded, made it. They looked at dumbfounded. They showed pictures of some of the generals that was in the audience, and how confused looking they were, like they were caught by surprise. But this is just the state we in, and it's unfortunate that we don't have more people in leadership that's willing to push back against this president and his uh, personnel that he has and that he has behind him, full lock, stock, and barrel. So, looking forward to this show.
Peacemaker, what's on your mind, my brother?
Yeah, greetings to our sisters and our brothers of Blackmen Declare. Um, yeah, I have had family members be incarcerated into federal prisons due to the location of their crimes. And when you are in a federal case, it is usually a mandatory sentence. Um, so, unfortunately, they had to serve a longer time than normally they would have because it was what we would call, for the lack of a better term, fed time. I did look up according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, that there is currently in America, and only in America, 40%, 47% white, 36% black, and 14% Hispanic individuals who are incarcerated. So the lies that social media and other media outlets have put, saying that predominantly black people are incarcerated, is a lie, according to their own. And again, let me say, this is according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. 47% is white, 36% is black, and 14% is Hispanic individuals. Um, you know, Unfortunately, a lot of people try to make it seem like we who are people of color, are black, make up the majority. Um, and it just seems like, well, it doesn't seem like, it is fact, according to their own statistics. Um, Predominantly people of Caucasian or white who are those who are incarcerated. So I
Well, if
look
you
forward to having that conversation about, who are incarcerated and who are not.
but you got to put an overlay with that, my brother. If you 36% of the prison population and you 6% of you black men of the overall population, that's a disproportionate ratio. So in reality, you would want that to be down in to that 6% level. So in fact, at that level, you still are 6 times higher than what it should be.
Well, I
So on a
mean, I'm sorry. Did I say 6%? I'm sorry if I
no,
said
no, no, no.
it's
You didn't say
okay. Okay.
you said
Okay.
36%. But what I'm
Of black
saying
people.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that when you look at it in relationship to the overall population, is
Oh, yeah.
disproportionate. Okay, we still have too many that are there because of the injustice in this bipolar reality that we call justice in America. So while on a numerical basis, total numbers, that's true, but on a ratio basis, it's fully disproportionate. And we should not have that many people if the justice system was correct. And we could go back again. Remember when the process of pursuing people to put theoretically in jail, if you want to use that term, we could go way back to how it was formally developed. Let me go back and just share this one piece that the Reconstruction to Jim Crow law was an instrument of control. Post-Civil War, the Black Codes of 1865 and 1866, the Southern states passed laws criminalizing unemployment, lottery, and vagrancy. Think about it. If you look at today, if you would apply that kind of process or that kind of thought to today, if you didn't have a job, if you were loitering, if they would accuse you of vagrancy or whatever, they had the legal ability to put you in jail. And especially when you think about right after the Civil War, I mean, we had never been working. We didn't have jobs, and we were looking for jobs. So they passed laws that were legal to where if you came up and said, well, peacemaker, do you have a job? And you said no, they could lock you up and put you in jail. Or you had somebody that would say, hey, you owe me some money for what I did for you, such and such. And you had a crooked judge, they could have you become a slave once again legally. As a matter of fact, there were people that literally did that and were able to get away with slavery all over once again. And when you begin to think about the rise of Jim Crow and the Ku Klux Klans and racial hierarchies and all of the things that happened in the South, they used the legal system to enslave, and that's why over a process of time, we begin to see, for lack of a better term, a generational curse that was overlaid, especially on Black men in America. So we've been battling trying to stay out of jail a long time. And think about today, and Cyber, I'd like for you to come in on this. Think about today where some of the young brothers, even today, they think they have this mindset, if I go do some time, I'm going to become a man, that going to prison is going to make me a man. And I have never understood that. I'd like to hear your comments on that, brother.
Yes, you know that's a part of, unfortunately, the culture that has been bred since the late 70s, with the music, the entertainment. You got to think most of us grew up, I know, from Peacemaker's time to my time, and the time, the generation that's behind us is even worse. But we grew up, idolizing the Scarface, gangster movies, the Godfather. Then he had the black exploitation movies, and then here comes rap music, which I love which I love. Don't get it wrong. I love her rap music. I love the NWAs. I love the Ice Cubes. I love, all of these groups. But that element started being funneled into the music, and unfortunately some didn't know that it's music. Yes, they may have been rapping about the street life, they may have been rapping about things that they saw, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still music, it's still entertainment. And if your brain can't process it as being that, and you start glorifying it as a way of life, and study just saying it's music, is telling a story like a movie. But as I said, the movies was pushing it down down our throats too, with the Scarface, the Godfathers, any kind of gangster movie, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. Think all the time, and drugs is a big deal at this time. You're talking about in the late 70s, heroin, then crack cocaine, and now the dope boy era comes into existence in the 80s, where the nice car, the brothers are starting to get some money, some real money. So they're bringing out the cell phones, they're bringing out the nice cars, the rims, the chains, new sneakers every day. That lifestyle was pushed into our culture, and it merged into our culture and created a path. And that path was to prison. That's all. That's what happened. And at the end of the day, we have to accept it and see how we can fix it. and you have a rapper like D1, a musician who's actually a Harvard professor, who actually a Harvard professor for the past 3-4 years. He's been on this crusade, to try to change the narrative in our culture with glorifying gangster music, and he actually retermed the term gangster, and I can't think of it. The whole thing of growing and nurturing. So I can't remember the actual acronym that he came up with, but it had to do with using God's gift. He turned gangster into this acronym that said we turn it into using God's gifts. When I come back, I have the actual meaning that he said, but it's just that path was created, man, and it's like a perfect storm happened with drugs, music, all of that. It's just a perfect storm that happened.
And as you shared that, it makes me think about this war on drugs. It gave the government and it gave the system an opportunity under Nixon, Reagan, even Clinton to disproportionately target, Black and brown communities, the crack cocaine. And I can remember being in school doing a project on the product line extension of cocaine into crack, right? And where you just then take some sodium bicarbonate and then you extend it where you got a quick high, but it didn't sustain itself as long as cocaine did. And we know the stories of the DEA supposedly going down in Mexico and stopping the cartels from bringing drugs into America, even the boy Escobar. And then even after he was killed that year, the next year, the numbers of drug activity flowing from Mexico to the United States only increased. And so we know that, remember Oliver North, you guys probably remember, and all of the things that was going on in Nicaragua down there. So the statistics confirm disparities. Studies consistently show that we are incarcerated at 5 to 6 times the rate of whites, even when controlling for crime categories. Now, Peacemaker, from your perspective, as you look at this law and order piece, I know in your area, even right now, there has been this intrusion by the National Guard. But what are the brothers and sisters sharing? I know we touched just briefly on another show, but we didn't get down really into maybe what the people are really feeling. Do you think that this show of strength has improved the situation at all? Where you see 47 coming on saying that, you can go out and do anything in Washington, D.C. Do you think it's really changed anything, or do you think there's just a period of love? I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't have an improvement, should not want an improvement in law and order. I think we all would agree with that. But the method and the processes that are used is, I believe, what we who have a level of social consciousness that we disagree with. Like to hear your comments and whatever else you want to expand from that.
Yeah, definitely want to assist my brother Sagar Key, the rapper D1, redefines the meaning of the word gangster to be a positive acronym. The acronym is growing and nurturing gifts, serving the Almighty. So that's what he is trying to redirect or put a positive spin on the word gangster. Godfather, to answer your question, with this presence of National Guard and other agents out in the streets of Washington, D.C. and the district of Maryland and Virginia, it has not been a positive effect. The first thing is you have to acknowledge the fact that over the past several years, the crime rate in DC has already dropped down significantly. So there was really never a issue compared to what our president or what the president has already said. When you look at and see these agents along with Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police, it is causing more of a disrespect and causing more of a disconnect with law enforcement. You have people who just don't trust law enforcement. You have these agents who are pulling over, literally out of the highway. And I've seen it with my own eyes, where they would set up roadblocks, and you have different agents pulling out cars, having them pull over to the side of the road on a major thoroughfare, on a major highway, the 295 highway, if anybody's familiar. And you have them pulling cars over and then arresting people. Initially, this presidency said that they would bring in the National Guard and all of these people in order to make crime go down. But the first 2 weeks, I think they arrested maybe 20 people out of 2 weeks. And they were mostly people who were violators of parole, or they were people who were that had minor infractions. So for them to use monies and funding to arrest these people, it is a useless and a unfortunate position where people have them going, and it's a lack of money. Now, I will also say that a lot of the people who are being incarcerated or who are pulling people over, you see a lot of people who are now saying, I'm going to arrest people just because of the color of their skin. And there is no legitimate reasoning why they're pulling people or arresting people. Now you have ICE, who, and it was just recently where they pulled somebody out in the middle of the road, tried to arrest them. And then while they were trying to arrest them, the police officer's gun came out of the holster. And then everybody was yelling out, gun, gun, and trying to find the gun. And they finally was able to pull the gun and get the gun back, the police officers. So you really just have now these officers who are not identifying themselves, who don't have any identification on their bodies, nor a camera, and they are just arresting people and conversating people. They're just arresting people just because they want to, and it's just causing heartache and disconnection between the people who live and work and thrive in this city and law enforcement.
Well, what you describe it is a dysfunctional reality, and bipolarism is a dysfunctional reality. And when you have dysfunctional realities governing and taking control of a city, you're going to have that, because now you're going to look for ways to justify your decision-making processes. And that's the way 47 appears to work. I know the governor of California seems to be fighting back aggressively. And you got to give him some credit, I would imagine, Governor Newsom, when he's willing to stand up to 47 and use really some of his own tactics. And some say they're tacky, but that's how you got to deal with 47. Now, I really appreciate what you both of you just shared on that music front and the rap front. I know I was looking at, some movies. I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of some of the brothers that's making movies today. And especially we spoke about this on another show, the use of that word, that N word. And you brothers broke it down, I thought, very eloquently in the past show. But how much do you think, Cyber, and then you can hit any other subject, but I want to hear your opinion on this one first. How much do you think some of these movies, and not only the music, but then some of these movies also have an impact on young brothers and this for whatever reason, this quest to become a man, where they think they've got to be themselves objectified in some kind of manner in order for them to become a man that requires them to go through some kind of interaction with the police where they get beat up or get shot. I got nephews that for whatever reason, after they had been shot, they felt and believed that they had arrived, regardless of the fact that they had a father that was supporting them. They felt they had arrived, and then when they came out, they had this pants hanging low thing that they were also going through. Help us understand, that, and then just share anything else your heart may desire.
Yeah, I give credit to, and I know people are going to be confused when I mention his name, but I give credit to Candace Owens, who was once on the Breakfast Club, and she gave Charlemagne and DJ Envy a schooling on the government having, their hands tied to the movie industry, and she mentioned that the government has a budget. They have a budget for I forgot what they call it. It's kind of like social engineering, really, uh, to spend with Hollywood, to have Hollywood create the type of movies for whatever their agenda uh they want their agenda to be. So whatever president there is, he wants an agenda. He gives Hollywood, so allocate them so much amount of money and say, hey, this is what we want you to put out. We want you to show, like, let's show Americans in this way, or show the military in this way, or show black people in this way. And, so that way, when we trying to push our agenda, the world is already seeing, like, these guys are menace to society. You show Boys in the Hood. You got these boys that, only thing they do is sit on the porch all day, drink liquor, and go shoot up, go to prison, show them in this way, paint them in this way. And then if you notice, like every cycle, if you want to if you want to make money on whatever, if you do for example, I'll give you a prime example. Right now, we see what Trump is pushing with taking black culture out of the school system, trying to get rid of black culture at all costs. So if I was a movie maker and I didn't care about the people, all I would say was go to the big studios and say, hey, I want to make a movie showing black people not caring about slavery anymore, not caring about black culture anymore, not caring about, their leaders. Let me paint that picture. Hollywood to throw a whole lot of money at them, because that's the agenda that the president wants to see. And so that a lot of people don't know that that's how that system works. And so you see young brothers come up and they're making all of this money. Think about the time that they were in, and then think about what agenda was being pushed at that time, and then you could begin to see how all of a sudden they become multimillionaires. You know, what did they want to push a few years ago, a few cycles ago? Homosexuality. Who pops up? I'm not going to say the name. If y'all want to say it, I mean, it's just truth. I mean, so we got to just look at it and see that that's just how it's played. And when you understand social engineering as a human being, if you understand what social engineering is, I'm in this field. I know the number one how when you want to hack something, you want to hack a computer or something like that, the easiest target is social engineering the human that sits in front of that computer. So if I can get that person to play mind games with that person to get them to believe what they don't actually see, or get them to see what they actually don't see, I can control them. And that's what's been playing on Black people, unfortunately, in the public eye, is social engineering. That's what is happening to us. That's why, to answer your question succinctly, this is why you see the young fellas, have a date with death. If you want to put it like that, they have a date with death because they've been socially engineered since the 70s to have this type of behavior. And this is the product that we're getting right now.
Structured, systemic, predictive programming. That's what it is. Social engineering is when they get into your mind and make you think, feel, and believe. But my nephews, man, I couldn't believe when they would be talking in such proud terms. I was shot and I survived. I mean, I'm a man now. You been shot up? No, I haven't been shot. I don't want to get shot either. But man, that's a beautiful breakdown, my brother. And when I think about, again, looking at some of this present day bipolar law and orders, they said the militarization of the police force itself, and how today, think about it, in some of the urban areas, all of this big time SWAT equipment they have. Man, why is it necessary to have militaristic vehicles and all of this in our urban areas, man? When we could understand it if we were at war. And I believe that what we see going on today, based on the research, is a preparation of America to be able to, for these law officers to be able to go in and execute alleged law and order in these areas where more Black people, let me just be straight up and honest with it, live than the European brothers and sisters in America. So when you think about that, we just had recently, didn't we have a visual display of military strength that many could interpret it to be as an attempt to show the type of law and order that could be put down in any street across America when we had the so-called Independence Day parade down Pennsylvania Avenue in the nation's capital? Again, Peacemaker, when you think about it, I mean, when you're just sitting around in the barbershop, when you're having conversation, I mean, has it really made any difference in the thought processes of the people? Or are they looking at it simply as just another attempt once again to use what our brother's saying on the social engineering side, what Cyber was saying, and now you have that piece where now you got this visual display coming down, and whenever anything goes down, you have these SWAT teams rolling up in all of these militaristic looking, vehicles. And that's what some are deeming and calling the militarization of the police force in America. What's your thoughts on that, Peacemaker?
Yeah, it's just a political exercise. I call it a practice of wartime or military of martial law. We've seen this happen in states of Baltimore and other states where they have had several militias and National Guard come in and try to provide or try to put in place a curfew and a lockdown. And from what I see, this is no different. As the president has said that he now wants to, he called Portland, Oregon, a place of war. And I'm saying to my mind, Portland, Oregon? What? How can you make such claims? But this is also the man who said that that people were eating dogs and cats. So it's unfortunate that we have a man, a person in place, and then for him to call all of these generals and the top, what we would say, top brass of the military, and try to get them to come together and get them online or in line with his philosophy. When you look at it, after his meeting with them, no one stood to clap. No one said that it was a good meeting. People looked at him in disbelief of what he was saying. And it is unfortunate that you have military people who he is trying to put into place and provide martial law, all in the name of, okay, if we are in wartime, then we don't have to have an election. We can bypass having an election because we are in wartime. So I just see it all as a ploy of what he is trying to do in order to maintain his position and status as the 47th president of the United States.
You know what's sad, brothers, is that, again, from the bipolar reality, we've been sold this bill of goods that, this is the land of the free, the home of the brave, and all of that good stuff. And most of us bought into that piece, and we were programmed predictably, and we know that our brother Cyber broke down that social engineering so beautifully. And just think about it. If we could even go back to something that Du Bois said way back in the day, he made reference to the fact that if you lived in a nation that did not treat all of its citizens with equality, you're going to be dealing with a nation that has nothing but a bipolar reality. And he was using that term way back in the early 1900s because, when Gandhi came here, Gandhi described the nation that was a bipolar reality. Almost all of these people, when, what was the name, Mabajidahad, I may have that wrong, brother Cyber, that came over, the Iranian president, when he came over and said America was in a state of bipolar reality. I mean, how is it that everybody can seem to recognize this reality, and especially as it relates to law and order, but Americans seem to have a difficult time in understanding that it's like a house divided. I mean, when you're divided, you can't be as strong as you can be. So the very thing that America says it want to be is the very application of that thing which it doesn't apply is what makes it weak. So when you think in those terms, I'm going to get a little personal for a second, and maybe you guys can, if you so desire. I have two brother-in-laws that are incarcerated in the state of California, been in there, man, over 30-some years, and the crimes that they were allegedly to have committed, they don't carry those kind of terms and sentences. But it's once again an indication of the misappropriation and the unequal, application of sentencing in America. I have two grandnephews that are in jail, both for the same crime of murder. One, we don't believe he was guilty of it, got caught up in a thing where somebody do something, they run out, give you a bag, you don't know what's in the bag, boom, almost like the record you remember Stevie Wonder when he had just got up to New York. And same thing. So now this young man was 18 years old in prison. Now his brother, however, he unfortunately, a guy got out of prison and came and tried to rough ride him. And unfortunately, he found a gun somewhere, came back, and the eyewitnesses, boom, shot another brother in the back of the head, killed him. Well, that's murder. I mean, my father was murdered. I mean, so there are real situations that take place. But even in those real situations, there are some people that murder and of European descent, they get out of prison. They get paroled some kind of way. So, what about you, brothers? How do you see that? That we have loved ones that have committed something. Some we know they committed, some we question, but yet we can't see justice even in the parole process for brothers and sisters in these United States of America. Cyber, what's your thoughts on that?
The president that you was talking about was Ahmadinejad. Um, but as it relates to prison, I have a uncle who was a professional boxer. He's close to 30 years right now. His as far as I know, the last thing I heard that his records was sent up to Trump for pardon. I heard it's close. So, but he didn't murder anybody. His crime was, I don't know how to say it, man, just messing with a white woman. They both was on drugs. Unfortunately, when the police pulled them over, if you ever been to Savannah, like going to South Carolina is less than 5 minutes across the bridge, right? The police pulled them over. They come from Georgia. They right across the bridge, but they got drugs in the car. What better way to escape than say, he forced me in here. She gets no time. And like I said, he's serving 30 something years. No murder, no nothing. But this prison system, man, I've learned a long time ago. We have to stop looking for I'm talking about us as black people. We have to stop looking for somebody to treat us right when we have a 400 plus year record that says the ruling party of this nation has never treated you right. So what makes you think that it will start today? And this is the problem that I have, just me, my personal opinion, with a lot of us black people. We still hoping and praying that that mindset that was in the forefathers of the ruling class will somehow treat us right. And we have a lot of good white people that are, our allies. We have a lot of good people, but they're not a part of that ruling class. Unfortunately, they don't they don't make enough noise. And Malcolm X talked about it. Certain people just want peace in the United States, regardless if something is right or something is wrong. They want peace, and you can't have freedom, justice, and equality with a mindset like that. In order for peace to happen, true peace, you need to give people freedom, justice, and equality. And that has yet to be done to my people in the United States of America.
Man, I'm right there. There's a GWP moment. Good white people. That's good white people. We're gonna have to come up with that one. That's a great acronym, man. Hey man, that's a GWP right there. What you mean? That's some good white people right there. But there are some. We want to acknowledge those that are in the fight. Tim Wise, Robert DeAngelo, and there are many others that are out there doing some work there in the battlefield, handling their business on the side of the brothers and sisters in America, and especially, man, in fighting for that, equality and justice. And we thank you for that, brother. But Peacemaker, when we think about this thing, there are other people that came to America that looked at this problem. And go back, think about the 60s. We mentioned it earlier. In your mind for a moment, if you ever view the scenes where you had the dogs, you had the water hoses, you had the burning crosses, you had all of these things that were going on. And then you had this law period where it seemed like America had grown up a little bit. that America had moved out of that kind of activity. Yet look at what's happened in the last few years. You had a young white brother go into a church, kill up 9, 10 people down in South Carolina. You had one go in and kill up some people up in Pennsylvania. You had the situation that took place up in in Wisconsin area where the young, European went with a rifle on his back, killed another European up there and got off his, and what they would say here is standing your ground and all of that. Now you see just recently with what took place with Charlie Kirk, and there's a lot of conspiracies that's beginning to come out about that one. I mean, there's so many things that are beginning to take place just this week when you had, in again, another ex-Marine in Grand Blanc, Michigan, that went in and in a church, in a Latter-day Saints church, and killed 5 people and set the church on fire some kind of way and was killed himself. You see this activity, and most of the people that are the perpetrators of this activity, if they're not a GWP, they must be a BWP, bad white people. How'd you go do something to get these bad white people under control when they're still seeing a system that's bipolar in the way it's treated brothers and sisters? You go on the news at night, they're going to have all of these stories about law and order, and they're going to be dealing with, look at the shows that are on TV, 48 Hours, ID, Snapped, and most of the time, when you see those shows, they're not people that look like us. They're people that look like the Europeans. Now, so is that feeding sometimes, is it possible, into the psychic of the European that, hey, I'm going to go out, I'm going to be a vigilante. I'm going to go out and take this into my own power, in my own hands. What's your thoughts on that, Peacemaker?
It definitely feeds into the psyche and of our European Caucasian brothers and sisters. When you have a president that says that if you are a police officer, then you are justified by your abuse towards people. We know that there have been several police officers or law enforcement officers who have taken their position and gone too far. And because of the fact that they feel and they believe that there is no punishment for them, that there is no accountability for them, that and even if they are terminated, they can just go over to the next county and get a job there because there is no accountability between counties or in a state. That if you get terminated from one law enforcement agency, you can't work for another law enforcement agency. So they have taken the philosophy and the mindset that, hey, I can do whatever I want to do because of the color of my skin. Now, unfortunately, that has been a mindset that we have been fighting up against since we've arrived to these shores from other countries. We have never been respected as a person. And let me not say all, but most of us have never been respected, and that those who are, there is and I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the KRS-One song, The Officer, and he, in the song, he says overseer, and he says it like 2 or 3 times, and then it's he says officer, he said check the similarities, And when you look at the similarities between a overseer and an officer, even he says that they both ride around on police. I mean, they both ride around as the police on horses. They both ride around the neighborhoods trying to intimidate people, and they both have this immunity that it seems to have, that they can do whatever they want to do in the mindset of allowing law and order to be put into place. So they definitely have a mindset that they can get away with whatever they want to do, um, and that there is no accountability, and that whatever happens, happens. They're going to be okay. So when you have that mindset, you can get really reckless and very inhumane by your actions.
What you describe in Peacemaker is that immunity piece. And that immunity piece is what 47 has given police officers around America more of since his return to the office. I believe Cyber's got a perspective on this immunity piece because when you give a thug more immunity, and I'm saying it like I believe it, like I see, not all, I'm saying those police officers that have probably PTP, the post-traumatic stress disorder for being in the military, and they have a dislike for black people in the first place. And then you see it in the critical race theory, where the statistics truly show that people of our melanin, they get sentences a whole lot longer than the other folks. So, Cyber, come and share with us in your opinion, man, this immunity piece and how it really affects the whole psychic of a people. I mean, we tell our people, our children, oftentimes. And I can remember growing up, my ancestors knew, my grandparents knew, because I had a little temper. Hey, don't go down there and get into nothing with the white man. Don't go down there and be looking at him in his face. Don't go down there and say nothing to any of the women, because I was one of those kind of children that could have been funneled another way. And thank God that I didn't get funneled that way. But I had that same aggressive attitude because a lot of brothers, man, that's in the pen in penitentiaries, man. These are some very smart brothers. They're not like they're not intelligent. That they're not highly. Their IQs are probably of Mensa quality, and they just again they got put down their pipe. So Cyber, I mean, I'm gonna ask you, maybe hope it's not unfair, but as you know, those kind of realities, the immunity that these folks give us, the brightness of our young brothers, man, is there a path for a young brother today? What do we share with a young brother that he won't get into the social engineering piece, that he won't get into the mindset that, hey, I got to take a bullet, I got to go into the pen, I got to do these things to be a man? What do we do to help these young brothers today?
My brother, I think it's going to require men like us and others to get get back into the trenches with the young brothers. For too long, we've allowed music and entertainment to raise uh our children, you know. And I think I mean I'm confident to say, even though I know a lot of us are in the homes with our, or try to do the best we can with our children, especially male children. But the fact is, when they leave out your door and they enter that schoolyard or ride that bus, unless they go into a private school like a Catholic school or something like that, and even then, that ain't even safe now. But because of cell phones and other technologies, but once they leave that house, man, Satan is in their ear. It's on their phone. Satan is popping up on their phone. So it's going to take a whole restructuring And I'm not going to say the brothers that are, past 16 years old are done. But what I'm saying is we have to refocus that energy on those newborns and those newborns and those young kids to really try to structure and teach them the discipline. And I give credit to place. I mean to groups like the Amish people. Even there, I've heard recently they having challenges with some of their young kids with that. When they have to go into the city and they see the different lifestyle, but they created an atmosphere for their children to try to raise them up as pure, if that's a good word, as pure as they can, with taking some of that noise that Satan, I always say Satan controls the airways right now. They have tried to take some of that noise and alleviate it to allow that mind, that child's mind, I'm gonna call it a virgin mind, to allow that virgin mind to really go through the natural process of growing and learning. When you start putting in this negativity, whether it's music or movies or videos or whatever, you start penetrating that mind, and it's no longer a virgin. That mind is no longer a virgin. So now it has all of these things that's on it or in it that has come in it that begins to alter the natural state of that mind. And so you take a kid who let's say, like, I'll take myself for example. When I was about, I want to say I was about 6 or 7 when I first started listening to rap music, and the first music I heard was pure music. It was just dancing and having fun or whatever. And then all of a sudden, when I became 8, 9, 10, that music changed, and it altered the state of my mind. And so I started, doing things that I shouldn't have done at that early of an age. So I think that's a big piece of it, man. We have to control what's manipulating our children's mind, man. I don't think we put enough value over protecting the mind. You know how in football they put the helmet on, and the helmet is supposed to protect, and they had concussions and stuff so much they altered the helmet to try to help absorb some of the shock from the helmet. Well, what the hell are we doing with our children as far as putting something over that brain, over that mind to protect it? I don't think we're doing enough, man. I really think as a culture, we're not doing enough to protect the virgin minds of our young children.
I'm telling you, brother, you said a mouthful right there. Because without that, there's no filtration of the data, of the information. And I know you come from a field to where you have hardware, but you got software. And with that software, you got programming. And you have to learn how to use that software to your advantage. You can optimize it or you can neutralize it. At the end of the day, most people never optimize the software that they have available to us. Just like most of us human beings, we sub-optimize. They say we probably use maybe 5 to 6% of our capacity. And look at how people on a global scale, regardless of where the imperial power came from, regardless of where we were colonized, our people were able to speak different languages. I mean, it's just amazing. Just recently, when I don't want to get off track, but when we saw at the World Track and Field Championships that was held in Tokyo, Japan, all of the brothers and sisters, man, from all over the globe. And that's why that recipe you just shared, if we could think about having all of the young people, man, abstain from allowing, and the parents could get on board, allowing all of that contaminated material to go into the minds of these young people. And instead, we came up with our own predictive programming process. If we did that ourselves, how do we do it? Maybe we cut out the the TV. Maybe we monitor the music. Maybe we do whatever. But we must be more involved. And as we begin to be more involved, we can't expect the teachers to do it at school. We put too much pressure on our teachers. Oh, they need to do this. You hear people say, oh, there should be more praying in school. You can teach your own children how to pray. I never had it in my mindset, I got to depend on the school for my child to have a prayer. Come on now. That's the NEA, National Education Association, that's not their job. Matter of fact, they're not even doing the job they need to be doing. So man, that was just a broad, I think, very conclusive and inclusive, presentation you shared in response to that question. We must begin to protect these virgin minds. We may not always be able to protect the body, but the mind, so that was that old adage, what? A mind is a terrible thing to waste. See, if we could do that, we wouldn't have the young brothers, son, and not even the young sisters today thinking that, hey, the number one badge I can get, let me get shot, let me go to jail, let me spend a couple nights in jail, let me spend a couple years in prison, not knowing that when they come out, oh yeah, they're gonna have a more difficult life, because that's another thing the system has set up. And as we begin to shut it down this evening, that's another thing. Peacemaker. Think about it. How is it that we as brothers and sisters, they go in, they get a felon, they come out, they can't get a job. I know Cyber and I know a brother, man, shy brother, but he had a felon on his record. He couldn't get a good gig, couldn't get things going. Even in businesses, trying to get money. Because you got to check that box if they ask you that question. Yet we got a 47 that's got 34, and the people still, that's again the bipolar reality that exists in America. Come on, Peacemaker, talk to us for a couple of minutes, man, on how dysfunctional that is. Think about a child. A child's got to be looking at this whole process, and in his mind, he's got to himself become totally not only disillusioned, but say, man, these grown folks ain't got no sense whatsoever. Like to hear your comments.
Well, again, it brings about a discomfort or distrust for young people to respect law and order, or those law enforcement agencies or people. Again, if you look at any social media, the videos of law enforcement locking up people, they're asking, who are you with? We can't see your face. What agency are you with? And some of them just come up with ICE just because it's easier to say that. But then the ones that I've seen with ICE on it or the information, they're not doing what they were supposed to be doing. They were coming to break up any issues or any concerns, but you have now people who are walking, and instead of being peacemakers or walking around establishing peace, they are the ones who are causing the drama. They're the ones who's causing the chaos by locking up immigrants and then taking them to places unknown. Either they say that they're being deported, but we understand that according to the records, they are being sent to some detainment center, and no one hardly knows, or no one knows where they're going. So it's interesting to see when you talked about the bipolarism of law enforcement or law. I see that as one of the major problems, and unfortunately, I don't see it getting any better. I would like for it to get better, but I don't see it getting any better.
Well, you just mentioned immigration. That's our subject matter for next week. It's going to be on immigration, and there's a whole lot of things going on right there to put practice into play for this martial law that so many believe is going to be coming this way. The Babylon is fallen. The empire is falling. The slippery slope is no longer slippery. The slope is gone. It's just a reality. But I'd like for you to give, both of you give any closing comments, take a minute or so on our subject matter tonight. You know, it's always difficult to come to an end of a discussion. Uh, but just whatever you feel in your heart that you want to share with our brothers and sisters, not only here in America, but around the world, because that's how we got to look at it. This is not a unique situation to America. This is something that's going on all over the globe. Come on, Cyber.
Man, I just recently I just spent entire week and a half with my grandfather, and we sit around and we talk for hours. And this is the second time that he said it. He said, "I'm not perfect." He said, "But this Nat King Cole song keeps, I think about this Nat King Cole song all the time." And he said, "I wish I would have had that song or paid attention to that song back then." He said, "I done a lot of things in my life that was wrong, and if I could have did them over again, I would do them over again." Yeah, he would do it. He would do it over. He would do things different. And he said, "Squirrel." He calls me Squirrel. He say, "Squirrel." He say, "Man," he say, "all of those things that I did wrong, they keep running through my mind." And he's 93 on record. He's 93, and he said that they keep running to my mind, and I can't do nothing about them. And I thought about that. I said, it's like a computer system, man. You have all of these memories of things that we done over our life, and the only way that those things leave if two ways: God take you out of here, or He take your mind, and you become what they call it, you have Alzheimer's or whatever. That's the only way those memories leave. And I think the Nat King Cole song is called "Looking Back Over My Life," and I think that's what we all have to do, man. Look back over our life, see the errors now before it's too late, and we sitting in a rocking chair, you know, and only thing that's coming over our minds are the things that we done wrong in the past that we would like to change, but time has passed us and we can't do nothing with it.
I would definitely want to add to that sentiment that we are in a state of anarchy and a state of potential martial law. I think when we look at what the law officers, and what's been really interesting, and we shared this maybe about a month ago, that you have more Caucasian people who are protesting and fighting against these people who are these National Guardsmen, who are saying, excuse me, who are protesting and saying we don't want them in the city. Um, if you look at any social media, you will see there are more people that don't look like us that are protesting. I find it very interesting, but I find it very helpful, because a lot of times when we are the only ones that are protesting, and the ones and we are, and I see that people are not taking them serious, and people are not taking people going and standing up against the injustices of these so-called law enforcement agencies. Um, I think when you have more Caucasian and white people standing up for others, I think unfortunately, it's respected more. It's taken more serious, and I think it's the fight that is definitely necessary. When you think about civil rights and the civil rights movement, though there were a lot of people of color who were marching, But when you had the Father Frank Frankler, I believe his name, and others like him and other white people, that's when the government took serious that, hey, maybe we might be doing something that's not right. Maybe we're doing the wrong thing. And it's unfortunate that we have to have, but I think it's definitely necessary. And we talked about this previously, that we need people who are God-fearing, people who are going to stand up for the injustices of the world. And they might not look like us, but they understand and they sympathize and emphasize that, hey, you can't treat them different just because they have darker skin. And I think once we start realizing that, I think that the government will then start giving in to some of these places where this martial law is being practiced.
Well, Peace Baker, you got more confidence in that than me. I'll be honest with you. The heart of America, man, half of it at least, is so cold, it's so dark, it's so rotten as it relates to unrighteousness that's going to take some serious heart surgery. You're going to have to be able to go in and do some real surgical work on the heart of America, because you gotta look at the reality. The bipolar reality in America is that when you take any subject, like we're going to discuss about immigration next week, I mean, the very fact that you will begin to have people that's been here first or second generation that's claim this is our country, and how basically they came over. Even the very people that say they're God-fearing people, what God are they fearing? Because truly it can't be God. I don't think it's the same what I'm talking about or you talking about or Cyber talk. It's just not. I mean, God is a God of mercy. You know, he has a level of mercy. And when you see some of the things taking place even right now, it's not based on mercy. It's based on something far different. But it's been a great night, brothers. And we want to remind you brothers and sisters, hit that like button, hit the subscription button, share with someone else. We want to be at 100,000 before the end of this year. We got 90 days to get there. This is the Godfather Mike Side saying, go out and have some conversations. Get into some debates. Don't get into arguments. Leave them at debates. And by all means, do it in peace and love. Mike Side.